Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I once did a video on why Gachagua is Kikuyu's worst enemy. Of course, as expected, there are those who came with, oh, you're a Kikuyu hater, you're what. That is expected, especially if you are to be specific with your analysis. But there's a reason as to why I was saying that. Rigathi Gachagua, in his selfishness, was doing virtually everything to antagonize these people with other Kenyans, to pit the Kikuyus against other Kenyans. And you see, when you pit a community against others, you don't have control of what happens. You are destroying livelihoods. You are trying to put them in danger unnecessarily. And so I did that video. Today, I want to share with you why I believe Rigathi Gachagua is the weakest link in the so-called united opposition. If that is a topic that interests you, stay tuned. And if you're watching for the first time, take a second and subscribe to this channel so that you're notified whenever we produce videos of this nature. Ladies and gentlemen, opposition is supposed to be an alternative. And so running opposition is just as hard as running the real government. In fact, in some jurisdiction, the opposition even has shadow ministers. Yes, you would find they have shadow positions to mimic that of the government, where you will even find them with a shadow attorney general who would go head to head with the attorney general of the government. So, opposition is not just a matter of sitting and criticizing for the sake of it. You must also be in a position to offer, and I must reiterate this, you must be in a position to offer alternative. Meaning you are telling Kenyans that Ruto and his regime is bad. Okay, why? Because of this and this and this and that. William Ruto has introduced affordable housing. We believe it is bad because of this and this. William Ruto has brought SHA, the universal health cover. In our opinion, this is bad because of this and this. William Ruto has introduced affordable fertilizer. Our opinion is that this fertilizer is bad for the farmers because of this and that. William Ruto reintroduced a new funding model for our university. In our opinion, this is bad because of this and that. We also look at William Ruto's job creation mechanism, where he's seeking for diaspora job for our youth, and he is also creating jobs through the affordable housing and some in the ICT sector. Our opinion is that this is not what Kenyans need. Kenyans need this and that. Because we've told you what they are doing and how bad it is, this is what we are proposing. If you are to give us a chance, this is what we will do instead of SHA. If you are to give us a chance to eliminate slums, not improve slums, to eliminate slums and create jobs, this is what we will do instead of affordable housing. So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, you are not just criticizing, you are also offering alternatives. That is how elections are done in mature democracies. Whether it is the UK, whether it is between the Labours and the Conservatives or the Reform Party, every person, those in the opposition, are giving alternatives. They are criticizing and giving alternative. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the work of the opposition. And their leader must be one who is communicating that message clearly. Unfortunately for the current opposition, and since they were brought together by nothing other than bitterness with William Ruto, they don't have alternatives. All they will tell you is that when I take over, I'm going to bring those houses down. When I take over, I'm going to remove SHA. When I do this, so somebody is not giving you an alternative. And even if you press them and tell them, why can't you share an agenda? The likes of Sifuna will look at you in the face and tell you their agenda is to replace someone called William Ruto. And they are saying plainly that they don't even care if they are replacing that person with a dog. I'm not kidding. They are looking at you and telling you that as long as William Ruto is not there, I don't care who is there. Whether that person is worse than William Ruto or is better, I don't care. What I care is William Ruto has to go home. And this might appeal to certain people, but not enough to make you win. So that is one area where Rigathi Gachagua is failing terribly. He doesn't have something to communicate instead of what Ruto is offering. Rigathi Gachagua, as the leader of the opposition, does not have a policy or an agenda to share. And it is the one people are looking at to hear what it is, what is it that you are going to do differently. He has nothing. Which takes us to number 2. What does Rigathi bring on the table? Rigathi is bringing insult and careless talks. And this is what is injuring the opposition even more. When you call a press conference to insult President Ruto, people are now used to that because there is nothing you've not said about Ruto. You've called Ruto a warlord. You've accused Ruto of everything from here to Timbuktu. There is nothing imaginable that is evil that you've not associated with William Ruto. And of course, you don't care whether you can prove it or not. You are doing it for the sake of provoking William Ruto. So that maybe use a state power, come after you, you become a martyr or some victim who is being tortured for speaking the truth. So William Ruto has ignored you. But nonetheless, you've not stopped. So you've called William Ruto every name. But apart from calling Ruto names, you are also a careless talker. There are some statements you are giving that is giving a lot of confusion in the opposition. Take an example of where you say you have sat down with Wiper and you've agreed that Nairobi will be split between the two of you in a ratio of 1 to 9. Yes. Wiper to take 10%, you take 90%. Yet, you've not mentioned DAP. You are not talking of Jubilee. According to you, the united opposition is a Wiper DCP affair. At the same time, you want to sit down with Matiang'i, you want to sit down with Eugene, the likes of Natembeya, and make them believe that you actually are focused on having their interest, on achieving their interest. It doesn't work like that. So Matiang'i would sit down and would ask himself, if they are already splitting everything with Kalonzo Musyoka, how do I come in? Eugene and others will be asking, what is this about? Even the campus themselves, when you tell them that your agreement with Kalonzo is that it is 10 to 90, what is that? What kind of arrangement is that? Where you take 90%. What type of arrangement is that? So, ladies and gentlemen, he is a careless talker. As if that is not enough, Rigathi is also persuaded that he can rock ODM from within. So, he is telling the people that ODM was sold to Ruto by one Junet and the likes of Uburu. And then he tells the likes of Sifuna that, Sifuna, we welcome you to DCP. And if you're not comfortable with DCP, just go to Wiper. The hope is that he scatters ODM because he believes that if ODM is supporting William Ruto, it is a difficult job for him. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot open as many war fronts as Rigathi is. You are fighting with your people within the united opposition, you are fighting ODM, and you are fighting William Ruto. You will be spread too thin. And that is why I'm saying Rigathi Gachagua is the weakest link, because this is what is going to happen, in my opinion. Very soon, and it's already happening after the thrashing in Mbeere North, the people who are chanting one term and saying that Mount Kenya is a no-go zone for UDA or Ruto have toned down. You can even see on social media platforms, people have started toning down. Even the UDA MPs who would have thought twice, who would have reconsidered association with William Ruto, now know that they have a chance. If they organize their campaign well, they can defeat whoever Rigathi brings on the table. with that happening in his own backyard, the fact that now people don't have that enthusiasm, it tells you that by 2027, the region might not be solidly behind Rigathi Gachagua. I told you, Rigathi Gachagua is being supported by Kikuyus and some people in Mount Kenya, not because they like him, but because he's echoing their feelings, their sentiments, the things that they feel Rigathi is making them, is speaking them out there loudly, ladies and gentlemen. But that is not going to be the case if the people feel like this guy is overrated. He promised us that UDA could not win. Now he's celebrating MCS. He had promised us that we would sweep all these things. We did not even sweep one. Now he's an expert in this. He's fighting he's fighting Kalonzo, he's fighting Matiang'i, he's fighting everyone. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, people are going to reconsider their association with Rigathi Gachagua. And those are people from Mount Kenya. And even people from Western, even people from Kisii, they are going to start reconsidering association with Rigathi Gachagua. And the so-called opposition, the so-called united opposition, might end up disintegrating into pieces, ladies and gentlemen. The only thing that Rigathi Gachagua could have done was that once you lose, you say, we lost because of this and this. And next time we are going to change this. But if you come and you are now like, oh, they rigged that election, we would have done this, this didn't happen. You are just blaming everyone else but yourself. At the end of the day, people are going to get tired with you. And knowing very well that Rigathi Gachagua is not going to vie, he might not be very relevant. I know now his focus is to get as many MPs as he can through that DCP so that he can use them for bargaining purposes. But that might not even be true because people will be persuaded that DCP is not the only party I have to vie on. I can even vie on UDA or Jubilee in Mount Kenya and still win my seat. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what I wanted to tell you, that the weakest link in the so-called united opposition is none other than Rigathi Gachagua. One, because as the leader of the opposition, he should be communicating an alternative agenda. He has none. All you hear from Rigathi are insults, insulting Ruto, and attacking other leaders. Apart from the fact that he does not have an agenda to tell the people on behalf of the opposition, he is also fighting and undermining members of the opposition. Rigathi is not ashamed to tell Kenyans that they have talked with Kalonzo and agreed that this is how they will share Nairobi. Kalonzo will take 10% and he will take 90%. And these are things that Kalonzo was also watching on TV. And he says that he has talked to you. Nobody would go into such a deal of you give me 1 seat, I give you 9 seats out of 10. He's also fighting ODM. The hope is that he's going to split ODM, bring Sifuna and Babu on into his side, things like that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how you lose, because an opposition is supposed to offer an alternative. This one is not offering an alternative. It is becoming chaotic, it is becoming comical, and very little is expected out of them. You can even predict what Rigathi Gachagua is going to say in the next press conference. And that is why there are people, ladies and gentlemen, who now feel, even within the opposition, even from Mount Kenya, who now feel that Rigathi is overrated. And if things continue that way, at the end of the day, Rigathi Gachagua might find himself even unpopular in his own region. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what I wanted to share with you. If you found value in this video, let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that we grow together. And of course, if you want to know how William Ruto finally humbled one JB Muturi, watch this video.